Folks, hello and welcome to Iron Rations. I am one of your hosts, Eric Tenkar, and with me is none other than Joe the Lawyer.
Hi, everybody. How you doing here? Hope everybody's doing well on this Friday evening.
Yeah, October was a long month, so we usually the fifth Friday, we wouldn't be doing a live stream, but Glenn actually stepped up because uh, last week was my 10th anniversary with Rach and I. So I was like, if I could take the night off, take the family out, which is what we did. It works out pretty well. So, in any case, yes, James, we were almost. Listen, if we don't keep you a little bit in suspense, we're not doing our job.
Yeah,
You know, and
almost on time.
and hey, listen, we've already I have seen that there are people out there who don't like these live streams.
Mm.
Not that they're forced to watch them, but they don't like these live streams and they complain about them. So my response to people that complain about live streams is don't fucking listen because they ain't for you. I mean,
Yeah, it was.
honestly, I mean,
Shall we name the douchebag who said
no.
that?
But here's the thing: like, I don't like was it like those real play episodes where you watch a bunch of I don't know, you watch a dick fest of guys, or if you push it now you try to fill up categories, but people legitimately playing an RPG session at the table. I would rather take a shit with hemorrhoids than be forced to watch that. But that's my opinion. All right. Doesn't mean that others might not like it. Not that they'll like to take into shit with the hemorrhoids,
Yeah.
but nobody likes that. But what I mean to say is personal tastes vary. I again have no patience for that because I have enough trouble enjoying. I'm a person that, like, if it's a bad RPG session, I'd rather not play, and I haven't had one of those in years.
Yeah.
But they're like pulling teeth. Every live play I've seen, not the edited ones that are
Hmm.
like, a show, but
Hmm.
I'm talking about you watch a bunch of people for 2 hours playing their characters. Um, it's boring as all
I
fucking.
tell you, when I was packing up all my shit, I put on one of the few things I left there was critical. It was my TV for the end, obviously, and I was watching Critical Role videos as I was packing living room and listening to as I was packing the dining room and all that stuff. So
Right.
I got to say, it got interesting at the beginning. I watched from the early episodes, and it was okay. You could tell they were kind of like D&D guys plus voice actors. I
Right.
think as it went on, because what I did was I kind of got tired of the first ones, and I wanted to see that Joe Manganiello episode arc, 2 or 3 episodes where he steals the hand of Vecna and then leaves, and it became canon and all this stuff, and it was really entertaining, I got to say. But at that point when I watched it, it was all so polished. It really made me think that everything is scripted and the roles are just fixed or edited or whatever. You know what I mean? Because they're so smooth and it's so well done. It's almost like they've written a script and they're just acting it out.
Well, and now here's the thing, and before we delve into today's topic, which if you can't already guess from looking at the screen, it's going to have to do with D&D memes.
Mm.
I covered this yesterday. Now, Joe, I don't remember. Do you remember the G4 network on cable?
Yeah.
All right. It's coming back later this month.
Huh.
And it's
All right.
returning with Invitation to Party, a D&D branded actual play live
Oh
action.
God.
So, and it's this is one of those situations where, um, well, we had to get some people that are, I don't know, Twitch computer gamers. Okay. Oh, this person's pretty much a failed comedian.
Mm.
Okay. And they're not personalities, but they're trying to put together something that
Yeah.
you can watch on Twitch and YouTube live, and then the live audience will like vote on, like, oh yeah, so and so should stub their toe or whatever,
Oh,
whatever,
fuck you. Fuck you.
right?
Making the DM's job into the. Oh, come
What,
on.
what,
No way.
so, and then they're going to edit that show and put it up as a completed episode on the G4 network.
Oh my God.
So
that's a whole different weird reality show, audience interaction kind of. Oh my God. It's a really good bad idea. I got to say, it's a great bad idea, because I know it's a decent idea, which will be implemented horribly because
right. I mean,
just horribly.
listen, if you had, and not that they could afford this, if you had Vin Diesel in the game, like that's a celebrity.
Yeah.
Joe Manganiello, that's a celebrity.
Yeah.
A bunch of people whose names I never heard of and really wouldn't care. Those aren't personalities. So that means that you're going to have to sell it on the quality of the story.
Yeah.
But for this to work, the reality is dice rolls are irrelevant. All right. They're going to roll dice and nobody's going to look at them because they have to know by whatever improv script they're working off of. And that's what I'm going to assume is going to be like improvisational acting / comedy. The improv script calls for you to fail. So you're going to have to fail because there's no way you can keep that going and keep it interesting.
You need the drama. You need to have an arc, a whole story arc with the drama, the conflict, the resolution, all the stuff. Yeah, it's going to have to be a book. There have to be a scripted game, just like what I think Critical Role. If I had to guess, I think Critical Role is that, a scripted game. But yeah, just thinking about what has to be on TV based on the players today and what they're looking at, and 5e players and newer players, the people who watch Critical Role, those guys, if anyone's going to tune into G4 and watch this shit, and they're going to look for what they're used to seeing, which is a whole lot of stupid shit. 5e,
right? And it's 5e, not even on paper. It's 5e on the tin, but what's going to be within the tin is whatever moves the pre-scripted story along. And again, there are people that like that shit, just like there are people that like watching other players role play. And,
yeah.
And it's like
it was, dude. That's a great thing though. Sometimes within the game, this is why you can't capture a real game on TV because you got to edit and censor out all the shit that makes our games, for example, fun.
Oh God,
you know what I mean?
all
the cracks and comments.
They wanted, years ago.
Yeah.
When Roll20 was getting big, they wanted me. And I was nobody, but I would talk about them on the blog, and apparently they knew. And I used to get invitations to stuff from Roll20 again back in the day.
This is our Saturday night game era. I remember.
Yeah. Until I responded to their request by saying, this was honest. I said, listen, you do realize that I would have to probably bleep out 50 to 75% of the conversation at the table. And I don't use pogs. I don't use
you were barely
lighting.
Using it back then.
I upload a map with Fog of War and I use a pointer and the dice roller. I don't even use character sheets or handouts.
Yeah.
And you know what my response was? No response.
Yeah, nothing. You ask us, hey, they want to do this show. We're like, I don't know if I want to get on camera doing that. That's why you never took part in that fucking Contesticon or whatever the hell it was. Nobody wants to be fucking villain forever.
And that was my issue with it. Now I understand the idea of where we have to make it a safe environment.
I get it. Yeah.
But you know what? You make it a safe environment by giving the power to the person that's running that session to boot anybody who acts like a penis.
Yeah.
If you're acting like a jackass, if you fall into any of the 4-letter word categories, you should be able to get booted. No discussion. It's like, oh yeah, we removed Dick because Dick was a dick.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, give the power to police themselves. Not, well, we're going to record. We're going to show this all live, and we are going to record it, and it's all going to go up on
and
YouTube.
Be there forever. Yeah, no, it's not, yeah.
And now, listen, coming from somebody who wasn't, I had considered being involved until a lot of the stuff was happening, but taking it from the perspective of somebody running that event, it's a genius way to get material out there. It's a genius way to get a lot of videos uploaded.
Yeah,
I can't. Yeah. I mean, from that perspective, it was a well put out plan.
Yeah. You got
people to buy into that. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. And there are several hour videos too. You could go back and look at it. And it's a good idea. It's just not, a lot of people just wouldn't take part.
It's a good idea. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
If you're employed, it's like,
yeah.
Wait, you actually have a job? So you made some off-color comment that was hilariously funny. However, we're gonna dox you and call your employer and say, "Hey, do you know what Tenkar said?" No,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I can get myself in enough trouble. I've fallen on enough swords, rightfully so. Believe me, when I fall on a sword, it's not because I'm doing it because I'm righteous. I'm doing it because, wow, I fucked up and it's time to fall on the sword.
Yeah. Give it up. Take your lumps.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Hey, James Carpio. Is that the same James Carpio that I think I met you at the old bookstore in Derby? And then I played in your game for like a session or two. That AD&D game you ran at the Milford store. Is that the same James? I think we're talking about here.
It might be. James would have to could confirm nor deny, but
I think it is.
I would say it is.
Yeah. No, I think so too. Yeah, I met him years ago at a bookstore, and we were talking about stuff, and I heard D&D. I think he was looking for D&D stuff, if I remember right. We're just yakking about shit, and it was just after the 2000 Coppers incident. Yeah, James, that was me, big fat guy. Yeah. So we're talking about he's like, oh, I think I recognize his name. You might recognize me as the whole the whole thing that instigated the whole 2000 Coppers. Like, oh, yeah.
There you go.
You're talking about Gygax magazine, exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Matt, I support a contest until they said white men cannot even play in their games, effectively segregating their own convention. That first year, and I can't speak for later years, but that first year, the idea was that it was only going to be women in positions of power. So women organizing the con, women running the games. And then
that's what I remember, yeah.
That's what then the issue became, and I remember this because G Plus was awash with it. The person running this, who shall remain nameless, because much like Candyman, you repeat their name and they come out of the woodwork and
right.
I'll be haunted. They complained that they were not getting people to volunteer to DM that were women. And I, stupidly enough, chimed in with, when the gaming community is probably 85% male, and we're going back close to 10 years.
And it's the OSR community to boot.
Right.
So it's old guys.
Yeah.
It's old. That sprang right out of the OSR.
Right.
And
you would have a hard time filling those spots if you were using 100% of your community.
Yeah.
When you bring it down to 15 or 20% of the community, it's going to be harder to fill the spots because game mastering is not for everybody. So if you were a male, you could play. You were allowed to play. That's the reason why Joe and I are talking about the fact that they were recording episodes because they were expecting bad actors, meaning dicks on the dance floor, to come out and necessarily probably be, as Matt said, men. But the idea was they were going to empower women, but they couldn't get enough women. And to bitch and complain
run the games,
that you couldn't get the women to volunteer and it was the fault of the women is putting the blame where it doesn't belong. You should just say, hey, listen, we want to empower women. We'd like to get as many women running games as possible, but if not, we still want, if men are going to run games, just be conscious of the fact that you might have women in your games. Please don't make sexist. That would have been fine.
Yeah.
But I think
they didn't have enough. I think they had more players probably who were willing to do it than the DMs. But it's keep in mind it's before 5e. 4e was still out at sucking.
Yes.
Right. 3-5 Pathfinder people were doing their thing, and the OSR was really at the early stages, right? And so that's where it sprang out of. And what are we? A bunch of Gen Xers, older Gen Xers at that, right? For the most part. So you're not going to back then. Christ, no women played.
Right.
So there's the random girlfriend. That was about it, though.
Right. And honestly, the same individual complained that Merle Rasmussen and Tim Kask were running games for just women. They were running games to as old school game masters. They were running games where no men were allowed. It was just women, and she had a complaint about that. And I had remarked that in the case of Merle's games, his wife was always in the room knitting or reading a book. So I didn't get it. It was complaining for the sake of complaining, but Rach enjoyed Merle's games immensely. So I mean, to tell people that enjoyed it that you had bad wrong fun because
Yeah.
you shouldn't have been in it. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm not going to mention names because I saw that movie Candyman, and it was a bad movie, but still, it could come back to haunt you.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of bad, wrong fun, you guys been staring at this headline for 15 minutes now, wondering what the fuck we're talking about. It's an article I came across about a week ago. I don't think too many people talked about it. I think the pundit might have done something related to it in some way. 20 Dungeons and Dragons memes that show the game makes no sense. And what surprised me is that this wasn't like some asshole's blog post on N World or whatever. It was Screen
Oh
Rants.
God!
You know, it was
Oh,
just Screen Rant.
It couldn't be a blog post on Big Purple because Big Purple would have been offended by a lot of the things within this. So
Probably, yeah.
it would not have survived, and people would have been banned. So yeah, no, dangerous city, Will Robinson, danger. But and I got upset because they make the Bards a butt of a couple of these memes.
Oh, I was happy about that. You know how I feel about Bards. I was gonna have fun with that one, but yeah, I saw this shit and I was reading it right, and I'm yelling at the screen as I'm reading it. A lot of 4FUs and blah 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 coming out of my mouth. And I'm like, hey, I better just save this so we get a whole show out of this one article here. I got 20 memes.
I'm gonna drop the
the link in the chat there.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop the link in the chat.
All right. Yeah, you can all follow along and shit. You know,
with this clickbait journalism article, not really, because it wasn't the usual. It isn't the you have to click on the article 20 times to get through 20 pieces. It wasn't.
It was a long article. You read through it,
right? Yeah, you know. So that I'm gonna see it's all one scroll. Yeah. And that in and of itself deserves points. I got to give Screen Rant points for that because they could have been total douchebaggery about it. And it's like when you're on some like random news site, you're like, oh, they have an article about like where these young female actresses have now over the last 40 years, what they look like now, and you want to click on it, you're like, oh my God, I don't even know where to click to get to the next part of this article because some of these clicks that look like clicks are to ads, you sons of bitches. So no, this is actually
it takes years to get through it all with all the pop-ups and bullshit. Yeah, stupid. But yeah, this is a decent article though. So I figured all the topics in here are kind of relevant, you know. So what they do, they took a meme and they just said, hey, this is bullshit, and here's why, or this is why D&D is stupid, or whatever the case may be. So I figured we'd just take a look at it here. So maybe a quick summary of each one, I guess.
And you know what, you can start because you have this taste for Bards. I'd be defending Bards in this one. I will comment, but
yeah. All right, so this is the first one isn't really it's a meme, but it's not written about here. They're at a party bard getting take out, but you're just the bard, because that's traditionally been what a bard can do, right? You sit there, especially in 3rd edition, you're singing your song the whole damn time.
I like my bard issue 56, Best of the Dragon, Volume 3 for AD&D, which and I kind of like the 2nd edition bard, but not as much. But my opinion of a bard is they should be good enough to fill multiple roles, but not good enough to be where, hey, I want this to be my fighter. I want this to be my spellcaster. No, but if your spellcaster goes down or needs to be supplemented, they should be good enough to do that and maybe hold their own in combat. So I like that feeling for them better than playing a multi-class character in AD&D.
Yeah. But, it was the only way to multi-class human in AD&D, really. But if you look at it now, there was the later editions of Bards. The 3rd edition Bard, you basically had to be playing a song the whole damn time to be doing something, right? And that was your thing. Now they made Bards a little bit more potent in 5th edition, where you got a little more variety. You don't have to be singing all the time. They're the buff master Bards in 5th edition. That's what they do. They just buff and buff. You know what I mean? So they're always giving bonuses.
So they're modeled more on an MMO type of buffer class now, where I think within 3rd edition, I guess probably 4th. I never played 4th.
No.
With them, they were still they were trying to give them a role, but they didn't want them to overpower anything, and therefore they overpowered nothing.
Yeah.
So.
The real Snickle was a halfling bard. I will never take more pleasure than playing my new gnome. His name's Snickle. I think I've said this before. Matt Jackson's favorite character was named Snickle, and Matt Jackson himself hates gnomes. So of course I made my gnome's name Snickle. So that's it.
Will the real Snickle please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up.
God, you just dated yourself on that song, man.
Oh,
holy crap.
I'm probably back to working retail on that song.
Right?
Oh my God. All right, so that's number 20. So now we're gonna go.
That was the prelude. I think now we're down to 20.
That one didn't even count.
That didn't even count. It was a freebie. That was a bonus shot across the bow of Bards.
Bards don't even count to be part of the meme.
It was just a bonus shot.
Oh man.
Number
Bards
20.
are now like second, third edition, where Rangers were too darn many and always an overdone trope.
Yeah.
Listen, my players always wanted to have a paladin, and they wanted to play the paladin as a lawful good chaotic, because that's exactly the character class that most PCs are anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm neutral good with chaotic tendencies.
Yeah, there's always the tendencies. Yeah. It's all gray. It's all gray.
It's all shades of gray.
Yeah.
All right. So number 20.
Gothridge Manor, a cruel Snickle joke continues. Yes, it does. It never ends.
They're always cruel Snickle jokes. Snickle in the pickle. So this one, we have Clark Kent, a.k.a. Superman, being snuck up on by the party rogue.
Aquaman, apparently. Aquaman's the rogue. Who knew?
With a good stealth roll, anything is possible. And that, I think, is kind of where one of the lines between old school gaming and 5e don't really cross often, because a lot of times I hear the complaints from players in old school. When the hell do I get a chance to backstab? Well, you can have a chance to backstab. My ruling has always been, if you were not seen before combat starts and then you make successful hide roll, then you have a chance to backstab. But a lot of times in newer editions, the assumption is, well, they saw me, and now they don't.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to jump behind the barrel and a bonus action disengage or hide or some bullshit. It's like I disallow that the right to hell. My house rule is you cannot, and even if my 5th edition house rules, you can't. Once you're in front of somebody, you can't hide in plain sight in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So you can't be swinging a sword at somebody, stab in the back. He turns around, you defend, and in that same round, you like, oh, look over there, a canary, and you jump behind the barrel. He don't see you. Come on, that's stupid. It's stupid. I also don't allow the rogue to backstab. And I call it backstab. I still call them thieves, actually. I still don't allow the backstab.
It's not a sneak attack.
It's not a sneak attack. It's just a backstab, because I call it, they gotta know you're not there or be unsuspecting that you are going to stab him in the back. You know what I mean? So and it only happens in the first round. And once you get that, you can't you can't do it again unless you be parallel somebody, or if you're behind somebody, you can do it in 5e. I allow that because there'd be no purpose for rogues in 5e, since everybody can do rogue shit, so I allow that. But that's about it. Just the first round only. I mean, then only if they're behind somebody with another combatant on the other side of it.
I see. For me, if I was running an OSR game, if they, all right, party gets surprised, I hide. You successfully hide. All right, I'm going to spend the next round moving into position.
Yeah.
Excellent. Do that, and then we'll worry about if you can if your backstab hits. But it's going to take. It's not like, oh shit, we're surprised. When my turn, when I get my my action, when I get my turn, I'm gonna hide. You can't. You're in front of them.
Yeah.
I have 8th level, and I have a 70% chance. Oh, but wait, I'm wearing an elven cloak. Oh my god. No, you can't fucking.
Not in front of somebody. That makes it a different deal, though. That makes it a different deal. A good stealth roll. You can take somebody out with. I don't allow assassination. I don't allow assassin subclass in my game either. So that's gone. So it's only the thief and the straight up rogue thief thing, in 5th edition. But yeah, the other thing about it is that as long as you don't allow it all the time in every situation, it's no different than a magic user spell. I know, they
Right.
say it makes them feel like everybody feel like extras, but not really, because you're not going to do it every time. That's the key to it. Don't let them do it every time.
Right. It's something that, hey, the perfect circumstance just happened.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
got surprised. I got my stealth roll or whatever you're calling it in your game. And look at that. Now I can, and then you still have to make a hit roll. So
yeah.
there's a couple of things that have to fall into place. That's fine. But also what I hate is the opposite. Like, well, no, you can't. You're not going to. You can't backstab. The only way you can backstab is if you've been sneaking ahead of the party, and you make your successful hide and move silently rolls, and then no,
Yeah.
that's the other extreme.
Yeah.
I've seen Dick DMs do that shit too. So
Yeah. All right.
all
What's
right.
the next one?
Oh,
Evil Jello.
I do like this one. This one is
Yeah, I like it too. It was pretty cool. Evil Jello, because Jello in the 80s was terrifying. And they're talking about the weirdness of the gelatinous cube, which is true. It's a sentient ooze in the shape of jiggly cube that engulfs and eats whatever living being it can. A giant Jello cube that globs around dungeons, dissolving organic matter except for wood and leather left behind inside it. Raises many questions. Why does it stay in the shape of a cube? Is it because the dungeon corridors tend to be built at right angles? Does that mean there may be gelatinous parallelograms out there? Where did they come from? Who the fuck knows? I think it was just Gary's way to clean up dungeons.
yeah.
It was like a street sweeper that went through the dungeons so that if things were justifiably different, well, where'd the body go? It was there yesterday when I left and I wanted to loot it, blah, blah, blah. What happened? And
Right.
then you see the cube coming at you.
It's like, wasn't that the point for like the Otiog is to have them as your garbage disposal? Like, well, there's an Otiog in the lowest level. Everybody
Yeah.
throws things down the chute here to feed the Otiog, because as long as he's satiated, he will.
Yeah.
And how do you satiate him? Well, you poop, you piss, you throw your He loves it. He thinks it's the greatest thing. It's like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's this the Atiug is the sewer system, and this is the street sweeper, the garbage man. This is the garbage pickup. That's all it is.
All right, so the next one. The face you make after finding a new item, and the DM only describes it as giving off a mysterious aura. Well, you know what? That is old school gaming, right?
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that. You had the two ways of play. And depending on the group, it was, all right, so what do you have on him? Well, he had a ring of far resistance, a ring of wishes that he forgot to use, and a +3 defender. Woohoo! Or you had he had 2 rings and a short sword. Well, I put on the ring. Which ring? And you hold the whole thing. Or what we generally would do was, I just put it into a sack, and when we get out of the dungeon, I'm going to go to the mage in town and pay like 200 gold pieces per item to have him identify it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that they're talking about here is the identify spell. If characters don't have it on their spell list, and so arcana rolls or dumb luck or what reveals it. Nobody wants to risk dumb luck, right? Because who knows? But even now in 5th edition, when there's a lot less cursed items and fuck yous in Magic, there's still, and then there is a wonderful satisfaction in saying there's some magic. I like it because I don't think I think they're kind of making fun of this, but I like the whole effect because I like to keep it mysterious. I don't allow I don't in my Bronze Age game. There's no detect magic, no identify. There's nothing there if you notice. So
has there been any magic? I wouldn't.
No, I doubt that there will be ever. But the fact is, you don't know. If I ever talk about a finely crafted sword,
the stone is exceptionally smooth.
Yeah.
It must be special.
Mm-hmm.
Let me hit Matt's character and find out. Or did we do that already?
Yeah, we killed some characters at least.
Yeah.
But I just like the trial and error. I mean, the other thing too is you don't know there's any magic because some things. Oh, it's this finely engraved sword with runes on it, and it feels kind of light in your hands. Okay, that you think that's magic, but you'll never fucking know. Right? You gotta find some other way to figure it out. Oh, do the runes match something that the sages know it's magic? Yeah, I like the mystery. The mystery is good. The mystery is good.
Yeah, no, I will certainly agree with that one. All right. Oh, this is the Arthur one, I guess, right? I was too old to enjoy Arthur.
I don't know who the hell Arthur is. That little thing there named Arthur?
Yeah, I believe I believe that's. I could be wrong, but I believe
Summoning somebody
my
with kids.
yeah from my time as a parent, this might be Arthur. I do like the idea the DM is a fallible god.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say it the wrong way because I'm.
Oh, we got a couple comments in there. We
All right,
got
I'll have to catch up.
5 main characters are comic book superheroes.
Yep. Oh,
yeah, that's true. That's
Joe
true.
is the expert of not allowing things in his game.
Yeah, that's true. That's half my house rules, or more than half. Are just nope, doesn't exist. Can't happen. Doesn't work like that. Nope, disallowed. It's like nothing. You're not going to see anything of it. It's easier. It's easier to hack off the limb than to try to mutate it into something that makes more sense. You just fuck it, it's gone.
Yeah,
it's gone.
It's gone. Pick it up later. Put it in your backpack. You might need it for food. And you think I'm joking, but not really. So when the DM accidentally says 1,000 platinum, when I meant to say 1,000 gold, but it's too late to go back now. Been there, not exactly like that, but I've been there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's too fucking late.
I was doing something with the game just the other day. I think it was my brother's or maybe your game. I was in the Bronze Age thing. I came up with the name Vorn. For some reason, Vorn's in my head. Maybe because of the whole weren't the Vorn in the damn Babylon 5?
Yes,
that's why it's in my head.
Those were the angel-like creatures.
Yeah. So I described and named the continent or a country on this continent, an ancient country, Vorn, right? And then later I realized, oh fuck, I already named another like an island chain to the north of this continent, Vornak. So now I'm like, well, that must mean they're related in some way. What does Vornak mean in the old tongue? Like maybe municipality of Vorn or island or colony of Vorn, like the Ak means colony of, and I'm like, ah, shit. So it turned a mistake into some historical thing, So, but yeah, you misspeak, and now it's out there forever. Like, ah, shit, unless you want to take it back and be, look like an incompetent DM, but just roll with it. It's more fun that way.
Yep. Rush corrected us, and he's right to correct us. It was the Vorlorn.
The Vorlon. Oh, okay. What the hell was the Vorn from? I don't even know.
I don't know, but it was close enough for me to go, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's the ticket.
Yeah.
So now, Joe, I have to give you the next one.
Oh, bardic performance.
Bard one.
When the bard uses perform while trying to use stealth. Yeah, that's true. Huh? Bards make noise to improve the party's ability to keep quiet as long as they keep playing the whole time. Yeah, I mean, what they're saying, it doesn't make a lot of sense that a dramatic music supplied by your buddies can give you that much of an edge, never mind undermining the enemy to such a degree. That's why I don't like bards. I just don't agree with that. I guess I never read anything in literature that backed up bards having magical ability. And so you read Lord of the Rings, you see the Rangers, you read Conan, you see barbarians, right? There's always wizards and thieves, right? And there's that, the magic users, obviously, but bards never clicked to me as something that I was like, oh, I read a book on that and they had a really cool character who was a bard. Really, that's the heart of it. I just never bought any into the archetype, right? I never read anything that described the archetype in any fun way.
You never read Spellsinger from Adam Dean Foster? Oh, jeez. Okay.
No, I don't know what the hell that even is.
The first 2 or 3 books in that series were good, and then it became Alan Dean Foster is writing books in between writing Star Wars novels, and this is just filler. But I think part of the issue is, in my opinion, is that if you take the bard as we've seen the bard in D&D, usually not just played but presented. Which, if you were watching, oh God, what was that damn? Was it Netflix TV series? The one based on the
Stranger Things?
No, the one that was based on a computer game with the actor that played Superman.
The Witcher.
If you watch The Witcher, there's a bard, and that is like the comical version of a D&D bard, and it's fun. But I always, in my mind, always saw a bard more like a Nordic skald. Or scald, where they tell inspirational stories to hype up their group, and then their group goes into combat hyped up with the Vikings, and he got them into that. All right, we're gonna slice their guts and pull off their testicles and shove it down their throats, and then they go rah, 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 like prior to a football game. That's what I would expect, and they don't keep it going.
Yeah,
that's for 1 round per level because that's how inspiring they were. So long as I have a round to do it.
And that would make sense.
So that working is more sense as opposed to, I think my party is great. I think my party is full.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think my party bleeds. Look at that shit. Holy cow. Stop bleeding. Stop bleeding. Stop bleeding. No, no. I mean, but inspirational storytelling, that I could see it. And also,
I totally see that, especially the night before with some brew in you, things like that.
yeah,
They're telling their tales, they're getting everybody pumped, and it's a morale booster if nothing else. But the way they make it now, they talk about later one of these things, vicious mockery. I'm just going to do vicious mockery, vicious mockery. Let me read you. I just happen to have my 5e player's handbook next to me.
okay.
This is why I was trying to kill my brother with some shit before, so I had the book out next to me for tomorrow's game. So vicious mockery. You got to hear this bullshit, dude. I mean, you probably never have heard it, and I don't know if the other guys who you don't play it that much, maybe you may not. TUVW. Where is it? Vicious mockery. Listen to this bullshit. All right. It's a cantrip, first of all, so you can do it forever.
Oh,
You unleash a string of insults laced with subtle enchantments at a creature you can see within range, which is 60 feet and is verbal only and duration instantaneous. If the target can hear you, though it need not even understand you, it must succeed against a wisdom saving throw or take 1d4 psychic damage and have disadvantage on the next attack roll it makes before the end of its next turn. So if a bard has the initiative count over a real badass fighter who's probably going to have a shit wisdom, right? Badass fighter has always taken little pinpricks of psychic damage, d4 every single round, right? If he fails to save, and then he'll have disadvantage on the next attack roll he makes. So essentially what you're saying is that you're making a fighter roll twice disadvantage. You're half as good as you would have been because somebody says, nah. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. That's just the stupidest spell I've ever heard. And it's the only spell that justifies a bard, and it's a boring ass spell. You know what I mean? That justifies you having a bard in the party, until they got some other things.
These memes are reinforcing the idea that I got to complete my Swords and Wizardry or Continue Relate Bard that I was working on. I gotta go back, but I like to hear it more like a Norse style, because listen, even when you look at the AD&D 1E Bard, the class that broke every rule in the book, it allowed humans to they allowed humans to dual class 3 times. So you were which you're not allowed to do. You were able to do so without having the necessary attributes to normally do so. But they were more like a druid who was also had thief abilities and fighting abilities and all this other bullshit.
Yeah.
But if they're going to be like a druid, then really, why do they have an instrument? Why aren't they there as not just storytellers, but the historians?
Yeah.
They're there to join an adventuring party to keep the knowledge of that story going, to make sure it's not lost.
See, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, what they were essentially in AD&D was druid spies. They were powerful druid spies at that. Jesus, man.
But they didn't really go the right way, I guess. It fell flat. So I don't know.
This is what they have in 5th edition, the main thrust of bards, bardic inspiration. You can inspire others through stirring words or music. All right. Here's the mechanic, though, involved. Use a bonus action on your turn. So that means you could attack and still throw a bardic inspiration at somebody, right?
Right.
Somebody within 60 feet of you who can hear you, and he gets a D6 inspiration die. All right. So within the next 10 turns, a creature can roll that D6 and add the number to any ability, check, attack, roll, or saving throw. So it's just like, you go, girl, and boom, you can roll a D6 over the next 10 minutes. It's like, and you could, it's just nuts. It's nice. It's nuts. And you can do it a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. All right. So you can do it a few times, and then you got to do a long rest afterwards. But it's just, they've mechanicfied too horribly what you're trying to get across.
Right.
To make it a combat mechanic doesn't make any sense in combat.
No.
I would say a bard's presence in combat increases morale because of memory of the tale that the bard told the night before. But the thing they do the night before is really what's going to give them the fucking bonus.
Yeah. It's a hard. I guess when you're trying to gamify it, it becomes. I think you got to go back to the root and then go from the root, find systems that fit, as opposed to going, oh, this just sounds cool, and then we'll just label it bard.
Yeah, that's all they're doing. It's like all they are is a bonus dude. They're a buffer. That's why they suck, in my opinion. You could do a good one, or port, especially if you could port that idea, Eric the Fifth. You might get a whole.
Oh, I can't port that to 5th.
Yeah,
Come on. That would require me to learn the fucking rules,
yeah,
I'm not compensated enough for that. Oh, fuck it, I'm not compensated at all.
yeah.
So, no, that ain't happening.
All right, what's the next one?
Number
Number 15.
All that planning gone. Who would win?
Yeah. A complex, carefully made adventure with complex encounters with some dicey boys. Yeah. It's
Unless you're Tim Schwartz, in which case the adventure will probably win because I've seen Tim's rolls.
oh yeah. Yeah. However, with Snickle, shout out again to Snickle the Gnome. He's in this third Tim Schwartz campaign. I can't believe it. That may be a record to have one character last that long. Yeah, there is no morale in 5e, Dave. I add morale. I love morale. I think it's a fantastic mechanic because sometimes the animals, the monsters, whatever, just have a morale failure and they run. And I do it the same exact way. You could port AD&D morale over into 5e with zero issues. You know, the charisma modifier would affect things. You have starting morale and then zero issues. The 2d6.
Well, no, you have issues because you can have players that go, but that's not in the rules.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Either is throwing my metal dice in your forehead, but I'm still going to do it if you keep up your shit, right?
But yeah, no, that you can have you can craft that adventure and lucky dice rolls will destroy it. But by the same token, you can have a well balanced adventure and unlucky dice rolls will have you scrambling as a DM not to do a total party kill that is no fault of your players, not through any stupidity, just bad luck, and that's when it sucks. I don't mind killing off player characters when it's general
justified.
Stupidity. Yeah.
Stupidity or bad rolls just sucks. So, like last night we had a game I was telling you about a little bit, and Dwayne was playing a paladin high level. My brother was playing a wizard, and the paladin he just got this fancy ass new sword for him too, and he just kept rolling 20s. And I'm like, there's consequences here. You know what I mean? It's like somebody got further ahead. The thing triggered when it shouldn't have, would have. It lasted longer than it could have. And that has an effect, right? And so it was just, you just never know how you're going to do. You never know. It's like, look what happened when they killed Greg's character. They tried to knock the things off his leg and they fumbled. Both of them fumbled. So I rolled to hit Greg instead of the character and he killed him. So that was it.
I gotta say, there are times when well-laid plans that go poorly are fucking hilarious, and you're like, you know what? I'm sorry that your character had to die, but what a story that goes along with it.
Rat Jackson, Tim is just going easy on your gnome to torment me. It could be. I can see Tim doing that. Some 3D chess kind of game. Keep me happy and keep Matt in torment. Yeah, I can see that happening. I don't know, on his worst days.
His best days.
Let's see, what's the next one? So many character ideas, so few games. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you want to, as a DM, I get to play my character ideas out as NPCs, but as a player, which I'm not a player quite often, I'm more a DM. Yeah, I can see that. You want to make up a new guy or whatever, and he's like, shit. Then you get into the thing where you start doing like suicidal bullshit with your current guy because you want to play the new guy, right? You say, I don't mind if he dies. I'll try to jump that 35-foot cliff, even though it's a 750-foot plunge to my death. It's worth the risk.
I'll carry the treasure chest while I'm doing it because
no worries.
Hey, I got 11 strength. It's better than average.
Yeah. You start thinking of your next guy, and you're like, shit, this could be fun. Fuck, I still got this guy though. What am I gonna do?
Well, I mean, admittedly, I tend to run more games than I play. The fact that I'm playing now is great because I'm playing with people who are also game masters. So you kind of bring the best out of everybody when everybody has played on both sides of the game master shield, right? You've been on both sides of the table. You kind of know what to expect, and honestly, you also know how to fuck up somebody's session. So you try not to do so.
Yeah. That's the good thing too. When you got DMs playing with you, is that they know that how to be a dick because there have had enough people be dicks in their games that fucked up their whole thing. They know how to do it, but they don't want to. They'll avoid the stuff that's like being a dick. Yeah. All right, what do we got? The wizard curve. Ah, my wizard's my happy class. Yeah, yeah. They talk about the curve, and like obviously this dude's talking about fifth edition. It's all new stuff, but I mean, he has no right to bitch until he played a first edition AD&D wizard. All
Well,
right, you got one fucking spell.
it
What are you
better
gonna
be
do?
sleep. It better be sleep because sleep is your
That's it.
nuke. It's your one shot nuke,
Yeah.
and that better be what you better use it at the right time. It's like,
If
oh,
you
we got
had it,
7.
because if the DM used the DM guide rules and you rolled randomly for your starting spells, then you may
Oh
not have
God,
anything. You may have like a bullshit ventriloquism
I
spell, and you're
you know what
whistling through the dungeon.
I've got strength, but I can make that into weak. No, weakness sucks. Oh, I know. Shocking. No. Oh, wait. I got burning hands, which does 1 hit point at first level.
Yeah. Useless.
No, this all sucks. Shit.
Yeah, and then when you're done, you're a one-shot wonder. Yeah, you're good to go, and then you got to sleep for 8 hours. But
Yeah.
later on, what they talk about here is later on they do hit their stride. And I gotta say, first edition, you start at the shittiest thing, you end up as the biggest fucking god of war ever. All right, as long as you
Yeah.
don't get hit by something or get somebody to power word kill on your ass.
Once you hit 5th level, you get fireball or lightning bolt,
Yeah.
and your magic missiles are now, was it to 2
Yeah.
to 5, 3 times. So
Yeah.
you're doing 6 to 15 with your first level magic missile
Yeah.
spells. It's significant,
Yeah.
but you have to get to that point. And a lot of times for new players, getting to that point is painful. Literally.
It is. I mean, my brother, we've been playing 3.5 years in this game, and his wizards finally get 9th level spells, right? He's like 17th, whatever, or 18th level, and in 5e, and he's finally doing stuff. And last night he dropped one on me he never used before, invulnerability. I'm like, all right, what does it do? I don't want to know. And I'm the DM who just relies on the characters to tell me what the hell it does, and I'll roll with it like that. If I need to know it for my purposes, I'll figure it out. All right, what's it do? And he tapes, roll 20, pasted it into the thing, and he's like immune to everything for like 10 minutes, as long as he doesn't break concentration. I'm like, everything? And I'm like, yeah, everything. I'm like, well, fuck. All right. He still got picked up and grappled by something and thrown 60 feet, but he was immune to everything, basically. So it's just a whole different game changer. And I'm like, and I think he saw the look on my face like, I'm going to nerf the fuck out of that, because he preempts it with, it's a 9th level spell and I only get one of them. I'm like, all right, I guess. Yeah, 9th level spells are supposed to be badass, So all right, I'll give you invulnerability for 10 minutes. So of course today I'm all over fucking internet Googling how to break 9th level 5e invulnerability, right? So be prepared. I wasn't ready last time for this, but next time you better watch out.
Hell have no fury.
Figure somebody else figured this bullshit out, 5 years ago before me. So I'm gonna get all the good stuff.
All right, metagaming and math. When you're fighting multiple enemies and trying to figure out, and I'm laughing because I've done this. Figure out what all their ACs and hit points are based on your team's rolls. It's like, all right, well, you know what? The 15 hit, but the 13 missed. So we got an idea where their AC is, and you need either a 14 or a 15. Safe to assume it's going to be a 15.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've taken 2 decent blows. They've taken 10 hit points of damage, and Joe's saying, yeah, they seem kind of wounded. So they probably got about 20 hit points, give or take.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right. So now we're talking with, we've got creatures that, in 5e terms, have AC 14 and 20 hit points, and we're a bunch of schlumps.
Yeah.
This is going to be fucking painful. Yeah, I've done that math.
Oh, yeah. I've done it. My best one I ever did was that I remember I stunned my brother with it. I was playing a paladin. And when I play a paladin, I'm playing exactly the same way, just to fire. He will do different means to get exactly the same ends as my chaotic neutral drow would. So, so I'm playing a paladin in name only. Everything he did was justified after need and greed. But anyway, I'm playing this guy, and I think somebody cast a fireball at us, and I knew the average damage of each d6 was blink. So I took the number that it was total damage, and I assumed average, and then I guessed the level of the guy who cast it, and by guessing the level of the guy who cast it, I guess a few other things about the creature or whatever. So I was like, okay, good, we're not going to do this. You should do this against them. He's like, fuck you. Oh, that's all the average of the fireball roll. It just fucked this whole thing up. I knew the big secret. So yeah, how do you not act on it? I mean, it's like there's something in the back of your head. You can try, But there's always going to be something in the back of your head that's like breaking that barrier and getting into the whole thing,
Listen, if you're playing a game where all dice rolls are out in the open and your DM rolls 76 for that lightning bolt, you've got a 7th level caster in front of you.
Yeah.
And that means a lot of things. You're like, oh, you're going, all right, so I kind of know what their saving throw is. If they're 7th or 8th, they might have one more spell like that. But I know as a fighter, I can just shake that shit off.
Yep.
I was afraid he was going to be a 10th level. He'd have more magic. He's probably not. He's probably got no hit points because his average is 2.5.
Yeah.
Per level. So what does he have? 20 hit points, 21 hit points.
Yeah. Plus, if you guess his level, you know how long his spells are going to last. You know how many spells he can memorize a day. And so if he already blew a third and a second, that means he only has one of each of these. And the chances are that he only memorized one of those kind of spells. So therefore, all that shit's going through your head. The more you know the system, the more you have to keep doing that because you can't turn that off, right?
Right.
And like all of us, I know the AD&D system like the back of my hand. Still, probably this day, I could turn to a page in a DM guide or a player's handbook just because I remembered exactly kind of where it was in the thickness of the book. As I was looking something up. So yeah, I just knew that because you read that on the toilet all day and all night.
You gotta read it somewhere.
Well, especially the monster manual. You had the succubus. Anyway, go ahead.
My monster manual opened up to that page. I got
At least yours wasn't stuck together.
No. My DM's guide opened up to the combat tables.
Yeah.
The combat matrices, I believe is what they called it. Yeah. And you could even look on the outside of the DM's guide, like at the pages, you could see where they were soiled from greasy fingers.
Cheeto fingers.
Pretty much.
That this burns my ass. This is the one where it burns my ass in the 5th edition. The M says you make a deception check. All right, now you make an insight check. So what do you do that for then? Like they have basically an insight check is to be able to tell if a guy's lying. So I can have an NPC have an entire dialogue with a character, right? And I may make a persuasion check or some other thing like that as an NPC from, as a DM for the NPC. And they go through this whole back and forth and this dialogue and this blah, blah, blah. And then the other player says, okay, can I roll an insight check to see if he's lying? No. I didn't spend a half an hour developing a character, the dialogue, the background, the story in my head, the way he thinks, just to make you undo an entire thing with one fucking insight roll. Fuck you. No, not going to happen.
I had that happen when I was at GaryCon a number of years ago. I had to run Rapinathic, of Doom, and it was a 5e group, but I had to run Swords and Wizardry Light because my 5e DM got snowed in or snowed out, however you want to refer to it.
Yeah.
And the players were mostly, receptive. I lost 1 out of 8, and then I had to walk on. So got the players up and running, and then I had one player who could not get out of the 5e mindset. And I explained, there's no skills, there are no feats. If you want to do something, tell me what you want to do, and we'll figure out how it happens. And again, they interact with some NPC monsters, and the one player's like, so I want to roll an insight check. I go, and I'm like, what? I want to see if they're lying. I go, dude, do you think they're lying? Well, I don't know. That's why I want to roll the die.
Yeah. I didn't pay attention to the dialogue.
If you think they're lying from the dialogue, then maybe they're lying.
Yeah.
No. I have to roll the dice. I go, and another player at the table who was, again, had played no edition before 5e goes, no, that's not how the older systems work, man. You just gotta, if you think he's lying, then tell us why you think he's lying.
And the kid is probably like, well, I didn't pay attention to the conversation because I knew I'd do an insight check at the end of it to see if it was bullshit. I mean,
pretty much, it was like, to me, it was insightful as to how much 5e relies upon skill rolls and feats. And I'm not saying that's bad because it allows everybody to know what their expectations are at the table. All right, so this is how we resolve everything, as opposed to Swords and Wizardry Labyrinth Lord, where you come into a situation, Roderick, AD&D, D&D, and you're like, oh, this isn't covered by the rules. All right, as a GM, I'm going to have to improvise and make up a rule. And what I decide to do is not going to be the same maybe as Joe does, and maybe Jeff or Dan, we might all have different ways of accomplishing the same thing. Whereas 5e makes sure there's a standardized way of
Yeah.
doing everything.
Well,
So,
one he had that too, but nobody understood it because Gygax wrote it in Gygaxese quite often. So, if you ever tried to understand the AD&D initiative system, I saw like a zillion step flowchart once that actually made, and there was still contradictions, you know. So yeah, Jesus, man, what do we got next?
All right,
Monstrous Mysteries, the dungeons. An Ettercap is about 6 feet tall, weighs 200 pounds. Ettercaps speak common. And yeah, they're talking about the Ettercap speaking in the Queen's English.
1,000 pardons, my good lad. Where are my manners? My name is Benjamin, and I'm afraid you've wandered into my web, old chap. Oh, it's such a crying shame. So would you like some tea before I eat your entrails? I never even realized they spoke common.
I don't. Yeah, who pays attention because I've never had a group of characters see something that big, ugly, facing them down, looking threatening just by their very existence, and didn't say, "I'll swing." You know, I mean, it's like you're not going to try to talk to it.
They're 6 feet tall, but they only weigh 200 pounds. Shit, man, I'm 5'9". I weigh 225 pounds.
Yeah.
So that's a small. That's a small drink of water.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an impressive drink of water. It's an ugly drink of water, but it's an impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they wouldn't even bother talking, but it does. Yeah, just some things about monsters that don't make any sense at all. Yeah, they talk about the flail snail with this giant snail with morning stars on the eye stalks, or the monodrone. Yeah, there's some weird shit, but I think that this goes back to just like they needed to fill pages. I mean, I sit here and I'm trying to think of monsters for the Bronze Age game. I don't want to use the same tropes. I don't want to use anything the same monsters. There's only so many times you can say giant thing, giant ant, giant lizard, giant salamander. I mean, you're not going to do that to death, right?
How about a giant flump?
Yeah. No? Small flump.
Look, it's a flump. What's a flump? It's kind of like a jellyfish that floats, but not quite a jellyfish. And they're like lawful good. What do you do with them? You kill them and you eat them. Maybe, or not.
Yeah.
Oh, my paladin killed one. I'm no longer a paladin. Oh, fuck. That's what they are. They're there for the DM to fuck with players. Another bard one. Holy fucking shit! Stop picking on the bards.
Just one quick thing on the other thing before we go, the weird monsters. Mm-hmm. This is where you get books like Raji. You had this monster creation thing.
Oh, esoteric.
Esoteric random creature generator. And that's a good book, but when you get into a level that you're making characters based on how many arms, all right, this, and what are the arms made of? That. Does he have a tail? Yes. If so, what's it shaped in? This. What color? And you just rolling dice on tables for all these characteristics, and you're putting together this Frankensteinian thing that, for the most part, probably won't make any sense because all you're going to be doing is describing body parts to your players. There's no scary picture. There's no monster historical archetype. And so you realize how absurd the monster creation process actually is if you're not drawing from archetypes that people understand. You know, you can't do the big thing, the giant thing. And once you exhaust your archetypes, that's when you come up with an Ettercap. You know, I mean, this is where this shit comes from. They got to fill pages. You know. Anyway, go ahead.
Matt Melman has a throwback to one of the prior ones about the checks. Because I just like passive checks. The fact that this is a role-playing game cuts both ways. However, there aren't any players with 18 intelligence or wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, you look at 5th edition, the passive checks in 5th edition, the most notorious one I hate and I rarely use. I just don't even think about it because I think it's so stupid, is the passive perception check, right? A perception check is the catch-all search, look around, see things, hear things, listen, blah, blah, blah. But that's an active thing you do. In 5e, you have a passive perception check, which has a score of 10 plus whatever your modifier is, right?
Right.
And so I think that's what it is. And if you're proficient in perception, you add your proficiency bonus to it. So ironically, you could have a cleric who has proficient in perception with a decent wisdom skill, because wisdom goes to perception, and you're walking around with like a 20 fucking score in passive perception. And so passive perception is against something in the environment, right? That the secret door, the concealed door, you walk by it. Oh, what's that? What's that weird hinge? Because you rolled a passive perception check. You saw the thing. whatever the DM was trying to hide, because the thing had an upper, a hide or a stealth value of less than the passive perception. And I get that you would just hear things sometimes, not be looking for it. You might just see things sometimes, not looking for it. But I don't like that it's such a mechanified thing, that it's such a standardized process that you have a score so that all you got to do is walk by something and the characters know they always have an active fucking radar going. That's what I don't like about passive perception. I like the DM to throw it out there once in a while if he or she feels that, yeah, this is a good chance. Let me see if they see that thing. Boom. But when the characters have a fucking ability that is so fucking relied upon all the time that they always know they got an active radar going, number one, that's stupid. Number two, what it comes down to is a thief generally doesn't have a high wisdom. A cleric or druid does. And so who's the best fucking perceiver of things in D&D 5e? Not the fucking thieves who are trained in this shit. Unless they take their whatever the hell thing in perception where they get, double the proficiency bonus. But still, that may not even make up for the damn clerics or druids walking around just like with the super radar. Because you went to preschool, you can now see trap doors and secret doors better than any class ever. Because you got that out of No, why? Dumb. Anyway, that's my rant on passive perception.
Hush says perception as a skill in general was a mistake. Here's the thing. Once you hit like 3.5, definitely 4E.
Yeah.
They were looking at MMOs.
Yeah.
And they were going, all right, well, they have these features. And in an MMO, you need perception because nobody's explaining to you what's where. So you need the game going. You spot a ghost spider. It's like, oh, now I see. Otherwise, it would just surprise me. I have a chance to spot it. So that's what they're doing to make up for the fact that you don't have a DM presenting this stuff. But then what happened was, as a shortcut, it got brought into tabletop RPGs. That's my opinion. I could be talking out of my ass, so please tell me.
I
not
agree.
The third time.
Perception ruins a lot of stuff in modern D&D. I agree. Matt Jackson, they ruined D&D when we gave orcs an ecology.
But listen, let's go back to Dragon magazines, right? Back in starting in the 40s, the issues in the 40s, we started having the ecology of your leaking ass or whatever.
Yeah,
you always had these ecology articles because they filled the pages and they added depth.
Yeah,
but the reality is most of us didn't give a flying fuck about the depth. Whatever was in the monster manual was enough to give me to run to say orcs are evil and they are meant to be cannon fodder to fall to the blades of my PCs. They weren't meant to be like, oh, well, they are this racial stereotype. We never thought that way. That's something that has maybe 5e depicted it that way, but we never thought that way back.
They were pigs. They were just like fucking monster pig. And they're human and pig crossover. I mean, that's kind of what they were, I don't know where. Anyway, it's all that bullshit.
We're gonna go down a rabbit hole we don't need. So here, let's get another bardic fuck.
Here we go. When your party is getting taken out, but you're just a bard, she's sitting there blowing her flute, and you can't see the picture. She has tears streaming down her face because all she could do is sit there and blow her flute when the party is being taken out. She can't do a damn thing. The lovable singing, sometimes utterly useless bard, especially some of the earlier editions where the bard had to maintain a performance for the duration of a battle just to give the party a small bump to skill and attack rolls. Now you're talking third edition. When you say early edition, you should be talking first edition when there's no such thing, you asshole. So yeah, let's just talk reality.
Well, for a lot of people, there was no edition before third edition, and before third edition there was
fifth edition. They think it's D&D. They don't get it.
Well,
here.
Yeah, I know. But notice how everybody kind of glosses over 4E. Don't even think about it. Just pretend it never existed. So, this is the one that next one is one that I happen to be partial to.
Hit points let you keep on coming.
Hit points. I still have one left, and I think of 'tis but a flesh wound.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you just lost your arm. Hey, just a flesh wound. Monty Python. And I still remember the early articles in Dragon magazine arguing over what hit points represented. And how can a 9th level fighter have more hit points than an elephant? Well, because the problem is that when we gamify the game, we think of hit points as actual damage, whereas hit points are pretty much your character's luck and skill getting blown away.
Yeah.
But we don't see it that way.
And that's what Gygax said. And one of the very few times he used to have this website. I don't know, it was a weird website. And he was in there in a little chat room sometimes as he was working. He would talk to you if you talk to him on a text. And it was like a sub IRC room within a web page, basically. And anyway, I was like, wow, Colonel Plato, that's you, Gary. Yeah, wow. And so I'm gonna say, I was like, what am I gonna ask Gary? Because you're in your late 20s, and this is your dude who's been a hero to you for 15 years, right? So what are you gonna ask Gary? You don't want to sound stupid, but you want to ask something that you want to know about. So I asked him, what the fuck's basically, I'll say it a nicer way, but what the fuck's with hit points? What does it mean? How do you get just the whole concept of hit points didn't make any sense. I talked about some logical fallacy about it, and he goes, no, he says hit points are just luck. And the way he explained it is just like you just said, luck and skill. That's all it is. Luck and skill. And you're not wounded. Essentially, what he was getting at is if you started as a fighter and you got a D8, you don't really get wounds until you're down to but 8 or less hit points, right?
Right.
That's when the wounds start to appear. Before that, it's nicks and scrapes and bumps and maybe some bruises, and you're getting worn out and you're getting tired, and things are getting closer, and boom. All right, but when your hit points drop below 8, now you got the scratch on your arm that's going to bleed and get and hurt you. That's what hit points are supposed to be. I mean, it begs the question though. Then what cure light wounds? Are you healing the body, or are you healing luck? Right? What else? Yeah, that's something like that. Doesn't make any sense. So what comes down to is that this thing is just an abstraction. You have to let it go. You got to let it go.
Matt Mellon, both hit points and armor class were more sophisticated concepts than they often got reduced to. Well, here's something about armor class that we always forgot. If you were not wearing a helmet, your head was AC 10. But I don't believe they ever explained what it required to do a cold shot to the head. I think we always ruled it was a -6 to hit. So if you were wearing a helmet, like a plate helmet, you had AC 3 in the head, your head was -3 for the cold shot to the head. But they always said intelligent creatures will strike the head if it's unarmored. So we very rarely played with that rule. But yes.
I don't remember there being a specifically written down bonus or penalty. I just don't remember ever knowing it. So if the characters ever got into it, my response was, do you want them to try it against you?
Right.
Yeah. If not,
unless you have a sword of sharpness or a vorpal blade, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Oh, God. What is this next one?
Overthinking everything. Defeats boss monster in 5 minutes, takes 2 hours to cross a 30-foot pit trap.
Yep. The DM sitting there looking.
That's our group, by the way.
Yeah,
Joe. I would say that we would fall into that category.
Yeah. You're careful and cautious, and I think that's an old school thing where you just know that the world is out, not just the monster that you see ahead, but the entire environment and everything in it is there to kill you, right? For no apparent reason. So you got to worry when you got to wonder, like a Tim's thing. The roses are out to kill you. So I sniff that rose, NPC red shirt. Drops dead. It's all right.
Thank the gods it wasn't me.
Yeah. You just the only penalty is that after a while, all the NPC red shirts you hire in town, they realize, the rest of them in town realize that every time you leave, you don't bring any back, so they don't go out with you anymore.
Yeah.
Other than that,
I know we treat them as disposable, but all right. Well.
Not only disposable, but you're wearing Sid's broadsword on your hip. Oh, he gave that to me. That was a gift.
Don't worry. Hey, if you join, you can have it.
Yeah. We'll give it to you to start with. How do you like?
We have a slightly soiled leather armor, but I mean,
little brown stain there, right under the arm, where the sword. Where he sweated.
Yeah, that's the ticket. Yes, this is exactly true. It looks fine is scarier than a demi-lich or a lich or anything that the DM can give you. You search through. Yeah, it looks fine. What? Yeah. Did you roll my fine tracks? Yeah. No. Everything looks fine.
Yeah. As a DM, I was sitting there sometimes like, wait. It meant to be anything. But all of a sudden, the group thinks it's the most important thing in the known universe, and they're sitting there for a half an hour, right? And so I'm just sitting there like, just get to the next fucking room. All their ideas are stupid. I don't know where they're going. It's a nothing. As soon as you walk across it, it's gone. Nothing matters. So I'm sitting here, and all you're going to hear is once in a while is like that. to justify what I just what I
Right.
just came up with was you hear a sound down the end of the hallway. It sounds like a groan, which would
Damn it.
solve the whole mystery or motivate him to do something. Just something. I just need to throw something in there, and no matter what I rolled in that dice, I was going to say that's something to move their shit along, because that's the only way to get them out of this hole.
Well, pretty much. So I like to say, DM spouting major villains monologue. Your heart's like, whatever. DM giving info on iffy, evil-looking magic sword. All right, I'm a bit more interested. I got to pay a bit more attention because this actually might. DM describing a nondescript room in great detail. Now you know you're fucked.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I don't want to touch anything. Can we just back out and leave?
Uh-huh.
Well, you sure you want to do that? There could be treasure. I don't care what's in here because I know there's death in here. But how do you know there's death in here? Because you just told me what the graffiti on that far wall was without me asking. So yeah, I know.
It's funny because I said to my brother, he has an apprentice who's been with him for a few years, and within his character sound like 6-7 years or whatever, and she's God, we've been playing 3.5 years in our time and like 7 years in game time now. Jesus Christ. So they're like long campaigns. I do. Anyway, this apprentice that he had since he was a kid is now getting married in the game. And I said, she announced the date of, the certain June 6th of whatever of the upcoming summer. And my brother's like, Dwayne, make sure no matter what you do that you're in town with a full complement of shit. Every man you got at your disposal, bring everything you got, because there's some shit that's going to go down at that wedding. I fucking know it. There's no way that wedding is going off without a hitch. He's going to have everything attacked. Just because you announce a nondescript, normal, basic event, a wedding is coming up, and they start shitting their pants, because they know they know my sense of drama too. I kind of did that at least one wedding already.
Most GMs, listen, if you're taking the time to set something up, you're going to give it details. And giving details, God help us now. Danger, Will Robinson.
Let's see what we got here. Level 1 just makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't agree with this one.
I don't either. The whole point of the article is memes that show D&D is stupid. In that regard, I think the meme is stupid because level 1s make complete sense. It doesn't make any sense to have this argument. You need to start somewhere. You're not starting as Batman. You're starting as Alfred, for God's sakes. Then move up to Robin and get up to Batman. You know what I mean? This is what the game is all about. Without level 1 adventures and without worrying about how many daggers or arrows you can afford and how much rations and versus the road trip length. That's good times, man. That's good times.
I mean, in Joe's campaign, we're worried about every time we go into combat, and it's just because it's the way the game is presented and written. So here the meme actually says, level 1 adventure, try to beat the chipmunk to the birdseed under the snow. Combat is not advised. He has more hit points than you. Now, is it kind of funny? Yeah, it's kind of funny. But honestly, I think that, and not necessarily first level in 5e, but I think with a lot of the old school RPGs, those first few levels are the sweet spot of role play opportunities
and memories, dude. Because that's when you're gritty. That's when it's like your own life. You remember the hard times that you struggled through, and you just sucked it up and went through it, and you came out of it the other end, and you struggled, and you just fucking nutted up and did it, right? You remember those days more so than you remember the humdrum, boring days where everything's okay and established and just moving along one day after another. You remember the old times, and I think that's what first level is all about. You're going to tell the story of the time you swung off the thing and killed the head orc.
Right.
That's that's awesome.
By the time you're 5th level, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Matt Melman. It's not like a huge cable television show didn't have a few wedding genocides.
That's true.
That is true. Oh my God. Yes. Now, alignment charts. And they use a loaf of bread, and I've seen better alignment memes than this one.
Yeah, this is lame.
Should we just skip this one? Because
but I mean, if you want to touch on alignment as a weird thing, because I think the overall point is the meme that signifies that alignment is stupid. It applies to strange situations. I don't. How do you do alignment? I mean, for the most part, I just tell people. I think I read in my house rules. Ignore alignment. It's dumb. It doesn't matter. The only thing I ask for is figure out your character, be consistent, and if your character changes, have a reason in game that he or she changes.
Right.
Why did he do this now when he didn't do it before? Well, that's because of this such and such happened in the meantime. Yeah, it makes sense. All right, cool. I can see a character developing that way and justifying it.
Right.
Just don't be willy nilly.
When I put together Swords of Witchery Light, I dropped alignment, and I dropped alignment not just because I go alignment's silly. I think alignment. I like the 5-axis alignment better myself, but the reason why I had a problem with alignment in this case was I had to explain it, and you can't. When you only have 4 pages to play with, explaining alignment is going to take up way too much fucking space. It's better off just not even throwing it into the mix.
Yeah,
but
I just look at it in terms of if you want to break down what the alignment thing is. There's how do you view the whole law and lawful and chaotic thing? How do you view the role of a government in the world? What type should it be? The more lawful, the more authoritarian, the less, the more democratic, the more chaotic. I look at it that way. So, and then the good evil axis is essentially a sociopath test. How loving, how different between a sociopath like Dexter or Mother Teresa are you? Right? If Dexter didn't have a code, where you land on that spectrum, and it really comes down to how you treat your fellow man and what you do for them, right? And so on the one hand, law and chaos is how you relate to the organized society around you. What level of organization and authority and control do you want? And the second part is how do you treat your fellow men and women out there? What do you do? What are you willing to do? And you start on a spectrum of these things, and then that's where you're at. And so you don't make it an alignment mechanic. You just make it a personality and a viewpoint, right? And so then when you got that, you don't need all you need is a character to behave consistently, or if it changes, justify it within the game. That's all you really need. You don't need the labels. All you need to do is have viewpoints, philosophical ideas, and that's it.
And personally, I think alignment is one of those things, especially with AD&D and on, is that's where the game started not really understanding itself very well. One of the few things I think that Palladium system does, whether it's Palladium Fantasy Roleplay or Riffs, or they have alignment, but they actually explain it with like examples. D&D, AD&D didn't really explain it with real world examples. They give examples that make sense when you read it. You go, oh shit, I understand what scrupulous good is. Yeah. Holy crap, I understand it. All right. What you wouldn't do with AD&D, it was always kind of like, okay, we're going to be wishy-washy in how we explain this, and but if you don't follow your alignment, you can lose your class if you're a paladin or a ranger or a druid that's no longer absolutely neutral.
Yep.
How do you play absolute neutral?
It was pure behavior control, really, and neutrality was a whole different animal. Neutrality was I don't give a fuck. Honestly, and that's how most people kind of are. I don't give a fuck. I'll generally do the nicer thing to somebody, but I'm not going to really go out of my way unless it's really needed. Or, you know what I mean? I'm not going to jump in the river to save the life. I might, if I have jumper cables and a poor old lady can't start her car, I might offer that as long as I'm not late. You know what I mean? It's like these sorts of things are all what the alignment actually is. But neutral, I think, is what most people fall in. I don't give a shit unless. Right, that's what neutrality is. But unless it's if it fits my agenda or if it helped me in some way, neutral is just kind of out for themselves and they don't think about the bigger issues.
Right,
and a lot of neutral is just like the farm guy or the guy who works 3 jobs. Right, I don't have time to think about this shit.
Right. Well, I think Palladium called it like unaligned, and I think that was better than neutral. Unaligned. Yeah. You know what? It's like saying, in this world, the real world, I don't give a shit about conservatives, liberals, progressives. I don't care about your Democrats or your Republicans. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to vote as I vote. And
yeah. That's how most people are.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what's your alignment? I have none. Well, there you go. You're unaligned. That works.
Yeah.
But I think that meme was pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah. It could have been much better. Classic dungeon denizens are insane. This goes with the other thing we were talking about. You just ran out of space. You just ran out of ideas. You had to fill space. This is what you're looking at. I mean, Squidward, the mimic chest.
Right. So yeah, I just by looking at these, so Kitty Whippins is a displacer beast.
Yep.
Squidwurst is a mind flayer. Rock Noms is a Tesseract. Chest Pains is
The
a
mimic.
mimic. Chomp Dingus. What?
That's a purple worm.
Oh,
maybe?
Purple Worm. And Bird Brain is the Grell.
Oh yeah. That's the one I didn't know. The Burbrain. Yeah.
I was looking at it and going, I know this. Why do I know this? I should fucking know this. It's the Grell. And I always have to think of Mike Grell, the classic Green Lantern artist. So that's how I remember that.
And Rock Noms, that's the Boulay, the whole story behind that. Did you ever hear what's his face Tim Cass talk about that?
Wasn't that like they didn't have dollar stores back then, but wasn't it like just like a crappy?
Yeah, some crappy ass thing that they had, and he had to think of a name for it, because they built their monsters. They literally Gary bought a box or a bag of some cheap plastic monsters from China or something at a shitty game store, and they were trying to have like, so here's a monster that makes no sense, just random bullshit somebody made, and here's a monster that makes no sense. Here's what it looks like. Describe it, stat it up. And that's what they did. And they had something that looked like the Boulay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Kask is sitting there watching that Saturday Night Live. And I don't think it's any secret Tim Kask, at least back in the day, in 1978 or whatever the hell he came up with this, was smoking weed, right? So he's back there sitting there. I can imagine this fucking midnight Saturday night, fucking has a drink in his hand, sitting in the dark room, maybe smoking a joint. And they come up with this. He's like, what the fuck am I going to do with this weird ass thing that looks like a shark headed thing? And then he's watching SNL and they come up with the episode where they had the skit with the land sharks.
Land shark.
So he just, all right, that's what it is. And he couldn't just call it a land shark. So he came up with some weird, stupid name, a Boulay, some French sounding name. And then you see in the monster, like it is in parentheses, land shark, So that's the story behind it. There's a thing where he was at a convention. They had like a 2-hour interview, and that story comes up in the middle of it. If you could find that, guys, it's funny as hell. He's an entertaining guy. He's a really entertaining guy. So yeah, that's like the, what's the stories behind these creatures? And probably a lot of them are just like that. Some dude sitting there like, what the fuck do I call this?
Well, yeah.
That's what I'll call it.
Mark says Rust Munster also came out of those toy figures. There you go.
Yeah. Yep. That's kind of cool, Kept Land Shark and Gamma World. Did he really? Jimmy Ford kept the Land Shark and Gamma World. That's pretty cool. I can see that being a Gamma World thing. That's funny enough, Yeah.
Definitely. The truth about DMing. Players can't ruin your campaign if you don't prepare one. I hate to say it, but this is probably the most accurate meme I've seen yet.
It's true, but you still got to prepare something. It makes it read like you don't need to.
Prepare the outline. Listen, I am very much a reactive GM where I have a loose outline that I'm working with.
Yep.
But if my players come up with an idea that is better than what I put down on paper, and I was like, oh, well, fuck, that sounds better than my shit. All right, well, I'll improvise something that kind of takes some of what they just threw into it and work from there.
Yeah.
But that being said, there are very few DMs, I think Bill Webb is one of them, that can literally go to the table, tell everybody roll up characters, and as you're rolling up characters, he starts making a few notes, asks for a few random words, and he's got an adventure ready to go.
Yeah,
I don't have that ability or skill.
Me either. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to play in one like that either.
Oh, you don't realize it. You don't realize it.
You know who used to do that? Gus LaRue. Remember him from the Google Plus days?
Oh, God, yes, I remember Gus.
He prepares some shit, but a lot of stuff he actually admitted to winging it, and he ran some great games. But when you admit to winging it, what you're telling me is that I can't figure it all out. And that's one of the things I like about D&D is figuring out the story behind the thing that I'm doing, right? And therefore, if this is here and that's there, it must be that this is the source of it behind. So we've got to be behind this wall, probably because of the steam tunnel goes there and blah, blah. And whatever I'm doing, it doesn't matter because the next room is just made up as he goes, right? And so if I can't beat it on an intellectual level, you're taking half the joy away from me. And so that's why I don't want to do that to my players either. There's always more to it. Fair
enough. Like I said, I have things planned out, but if my players start thinking something up that sounds a lot cooler than what I had initially planned,
Yeah.
and it works. Oh, I'm gonna find a way to get
Oh
it.
yeah, that'll do. That's like, ooh, that's a
Because
good
wow,
idea. They'll never
yeah,
know. I'll just tell them they guessed well. They'll never
yeah,
fucking know.
yeah. True confession.
Yeah. I tell you what though, I don't know if I touched upon the Return of the Lazy DM thing last time we talked here. Did I touch that a little bit?
What?
The book, The Return of the Lazy DM.
Not
You
tonight.
hear about
No.
that thing? I don't know if I talked about it last time, but I gotta say, man, this book is probably the best resource I've ever read for Dungeons and Dragons and how to actually DM well. I think it's because it fits my style well, right? What he talks about is a loose structure, like you're talking about. You get some detail, but you also have a loose structure. And he just says your adventure must have these components in it, right? And just as a brief skim, I just pulled up the PDF here. This is one of the books I actually of an actual purchase PDF of, because it's that
Oh,
good. It's
true
that good.
confessions.
True confession. Yeah, not that there's any illegal PDFs at all, but it's he talks about some basic components of how to do the game that make complete sense, and it's a lot of stuff that I had been doing, right? But I
Right.
didn't know I was doing it. It was just things I was kind of gut instinct and doing from the gut instinct, And so he talks about create a strong start, make it memorable. What's the point? Where's the action? What's happening? Start with a combat, maybe. Then he gives examples for a strong start. Good, yeah. Outline potential scenes. Now, this is good because I do this a lot sometimes anyway, where I think, oh, what if this would happen? Wouldn't that be cool? It would probably play out like this. But the way
Right.
he puts it is you lay out potential scenes. And when you do that, you could drop the scene where you want to, when you want to, but it makes it feel like it's like better than laying out a room because it's a thing that moves depending on the situation and it could change based on how and where you want to drop it. And he also says be prepared to throw it all away. And that's good shit, right? Leave secrets, leave clues, leave mysteries, have them thinking about stuff. Again, that goes to what I was saying about what I like out of the game, develop fantastic locations. This is something I noticed Tim does a lot. Tim generally won't give you just the lizard men attacks out of the woods, roll initiative and blah blah blah. He'll just come up with a lair, something weird and interesting. And I think it goes back to all the adventures that he does, these 1, 2, 3, 5 room dungeons, that he sends out for his Patreons, which are actually excellent, guys.
Yeah.
You should subscribe to his Patreon. It's probably the most worthwhile Patreon you could damn subscribe to out there in the OSR. He's always sending stuff out. But so this is stuff that Tim does. You don't just say, the skeletons attack. You have a lair, you have a complex, you have a thing that they're attached to or nearby that means something to the skeletons. It might mean something to the bigger story. There's always something more than just a random encounter, and then he talks about fantastic locations too, of the mysterious falls that sparkle green on the full moon or whatever, things like that. As long as you do this stuff, right? And this all goes back to be prepared to change it up and go. Don't prepare a campaign. I can't fully agree because I think all these little components of things I was talking about, there's even more in that book, add to the fact that you could make a far more interesting campaign with more preparation. You need to prepare something. You can make things up on the fly that could enhance what you did, right? Or play off what the players are saying to make it more interesting to them because you realize that would be really cool to them based on their conversation. But you need to have something. I think you really do need to have something there.
You just can't go into listen. Even the times where I didn't, you're with your game group. This is when I was playing out Long Island a couple of years ago, and our GM was like, "Hey, listen, I gotta take a break. I'm done." And you're all out there, and you only get together twice a month. You're like, "Fuck." So like, Eric, can you run towards the Wizard Light? I'm like, and I always would carry. Oh God, there's a deck of cards from Info Designs, and he has these little like mini encounter cards, the regular playing card deck, but they have encounters, a small map, and a little description of what's going on. So I said, you know what? Hold on a second, and I dealt myself 2 cards. And I looked at 2 cards, read them over real quick, and went, which one do I feel? I go, I feel this one. So, all right, everybody, take a smoke break, or go grab a soda, or whatever. Give me 10 minutes. And in 10 minutes, I took what was there and fleshed it out enough that I figured I can run this. And yes, will I improv a bit off my players because I am literally running real quick and real short? Yeah, if they start like bowling over my shit, I'll make the final encounter a bit stronger. If they're getting their asses kicked, I might, because again, I'm doing this with 10 minutes of prep.
Yeah.
It's not going to be one of those games where you go, Oh, I just spent 3 hours prepping this. I think I know my players pretty well.
And
Or when you're
sometimes,
prepping for a convention game, which is different than doing a home
oh
game.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I tell you, there's no matter how prepped you are, you still need to take those breaks sometimes. I used to run a LOTFP game back in the day, and it was like 2011, 12, 13, something like that. And we the best place that we found to play and the best day and time and place was New Haven, Connecticut, at a Moe's burrito place, because they opened at 11, but 10 or 11, but they didn't get going until the afternoon lunch. And so the manager let us sit there as long as we ate something, And so we would sit there in the corner. We put a few tables together, and it was common to everybody, and they had food, so it was a good deal. But every once in a while, they would stump me with something. I was sort of new in the old school style, trying to figure it out and learn and try, and they'd stump me, and I'm like, hold up a minute. I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta take a shit. That burrito went right through me. And I'll use that as an excuse sometimes, because who wouldn't doubt that you gotta take a shit after eating a burrito at a most, So I'm like, I go in there for 5 minutes. I'm like pretending I'm taking a shit sometimes, like, fuck, what am I gonna do now? Right. The problem was you can only pull the shit card a couple times, but once a game, twice maybe, if you had the big the house wrecker fucking burrito, the home wrecker. But but after a while, you're like, you just can't go taking shits. They're gonna think you suck. So that's when you discover that Moe's actually sells margaritas. So
cheers.
So I get up. So once you blow the shit card, you go right for the margarita card. It's like, hold on, guys, I got to get a drink here. And you go over there. It takes them a few minutes to make the margarita, and then you take a good long swig of the margarita just to get to help lubricate the brain a little bit with some creativity. And you slow walk it back to the fucking table, hoping you come up with some bullshit, So yeah. Then after you start the margaritas flowing, you might as well continue the margarita flows, and
then you're really lubricated, and you're really improvising because you can't remember what the fuck you had.
Oh yeah. You just
But I can't even read the words that are in front of me, so fuck it. Let's just keep this going. You having fun? Get some margaritas for yourself.
Yeah. Here, have another one. Did you wait? Whose initiative was it? Oh yeah, all right, cool. You go again.
Don't worry about it. You win initiative.
Yeah.
You bought me a margarita. Hell, you'll win the next combat. I'm never saying that bribing the DM does you any good, but it doesn't hurt.
Can't hurt. It can't hurt at all. Honestly, yeah. It can't hurt at all. God, what are we?
We're in the last one.
Oh,
getting attached to the bad guys.
Nice.
Go ahead.
I'm wetting my whistle here. And we have Bob Ross making his appearance. Let's put it over here, right behind this hidden trap door, and looking at a classic dungeon that made no sense ecologically wise.
Right.
And we'll place a goblin wizard with fireball memorized here on his shoulder, because everyone needs a friend. Yeah. The meme tells us about the planning process. It's not about writing a story or filling the space for layers to explore. It's a craft I could draw you in and it makes no sense to anyone else. It's true. I mean, I'm not a person who particularly cares about drawing the perfect map. I don't, because I suck, right? I can't, with a ruler, I can't draw a straight line. But you sit there, and I have all these programs I bought over COVID because extra cash, right? And I have all these computer programs to make maps of. I think I have everything on the market at this point. And when I'm going to make a map for my game, I get up off this chair, I walk over to my little drawing table I got 11 by 17 graph paper, and I sit there with a pencil and eraser, and I start drawing my map, because there's something to sitting there with a pencil and paper drawing your own map. There's just something that feels relaxing and good about it, and nostalgic all at the same time. There is something to the process, and I don't even do great ones. So I just like doing the creative process,
Well, Joe, remind me the next time we are going to get together. We were supposed to get together today. Events prevented nothing, let alone the weather was shitty this morning.
Yeah.
Holy
crap. Really was. We had like 50-mile-an-hour winds here. I thought the trees were going to go down.
Oh, there were branches coming down in my neighborhood. I was like,
Jesus.
I was like, geez. Oh, God. Gold Piece Publications out in England, also known, I think, as Square Hex. He put out some mapping material. Now, here's the thing: when I back anything from Square Hex on a Kickstarter, I back like I am a retail store, because shipping from England, the difference between me getting, I don't know, 16 and 2 is very little when you add the shipping into it.
What is the Square Hex? I don't know who the hell they are.
Square Hex is Peter Regan. He has some amazing map supplies for those who do it by hand. Yeah. I have extras. Okay. I mean, really good stuff. So I will bring, if you recall, if you remind me, because as always, Rach will be happy to get some of this shit out of there.
Yeah, man, that sounds cool. Square Hexed HE.
Square Hex,
I'm looking them up on
Square Hex UK, I believe.
Philip Reed, Jeff James, or Carl. Dungeon Crafter Sketchbooks, Square and Hex editions. Is that Philip Reed?
Hold on,
I'm not
I got
seeing
I got
anything.
I got the link.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to bookmark their site because if there's somebody puts out good shit, I don't want to miss it next time.
Right. Okay, now, he put this stuff out a couple of years ago. It was a Kickstarter, and I
Okay.
don't know. Again, you're shipping from the UK, so that's why he. Let's see. As we're doing this live, does he have the sets that he was? He has the hex symbol card. I have that. Little hexes. I have plenty of that. The plastic card ruler. A lot of this stuff I have in multiple copies.
Okay.
So I should be able to hook you up. And I even had, oh God, like the blotters, like I need a desk blotter with my calendar.
Yeah.
We had that in hexes and in hexagons.
Huh.
So you can have that in your desk. And I used to use that to take scrap notes when I would game. And at the same time, I would use it to like if I just wanted to feel like I was mapping. I had the map paper right there. You could take notes on it. Might have extras of that too. I gotta look.
That's cool. You
Yeah,
remember when the thing that was all the rage? It won some Emmy award for best weird product. I don't know what the hell it was, but it was basically a roll of paper with 1-inch squares on it, right? And hex. What was it called? Something paper, dungeon paper, or something like that.
Dungeon paper.
It might have been. I don't know. I forget. It was just if they won some Emmy, blah blah blah. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, some asshole basically is selling my mother's old shelf paper that she used to put on shelves in the closet, and they're calling it something else. And all it is just paper with squares on it. And all of a sudden, because it's tear away and throw out and all this kind of stuff, it's winning all these awards. I mean, Jesus, man, it's nothing. It's paper with squares on it. Jesus Christ. Why is he getting an award? He repurposed it from shelf paper to this, and all of a sudden he's a fucking award winner. Come
on. Listen, I'm sure he made good money on it too.
I'm sure he did too. Yeah, I'm fucking jealous. That's why I'm so pissed. If I thought of monetizing my mother's fucking shelf paper, I'd be rich too. Oh God. Yeah. So you get used to what he's saying here. The point of this is you get attached to your bad guys. Yeah. It's like you put so much time. I spent 2.5 hours designing the big bad guy that my brother's going to fight tomorrow with his big old barbarian guy, and they're going to have a big fucking throwdown. And I drew him up based on my weird little system that I created, this campaign. Right. And I'm looking at him like, wow, this was cool. I put a lot of time into this fucker, like 2.5 hours. And there's a lot of detail went into him. Like, he went like a personality, would justifies why he would take certain spells and not others. And all these things that went into the story. And he's just a one-shot guy I created tonight, but I'm going to play tomorrow. And he's probably going to be dead tomorrow. But I'm like, too bad he's got to die.
And listen, they didn't bring this up. And this was common when I was gaming initially, because when we gamed in junior high school or early days of high school, at least up in the Poconos, you were lucky if you had 3 players at the table. Yeah. Our max was actually, I think, 3 plus DM 4. But if you had 3 players at the table, 2 in the DM, guess what? All 3 of you, including the DM, were running 2 characters.
Yeah.
And they became DM PCs.
Yep.
And the problem with the DM PC is that you put shit in there for your PC.
Yeah.
So when your paladin at 4th level finds a Holy Avenger because that's what you rolled in a DMG, no. Things that wouldn't fly as an adult certainly flew when you were 13, 14.
Mm-hmm. And you had to, because the dungeons, I mean, back then, all the dungeons, a 3rd level dungeon for between 9 and 13 characters. I'm like, what? I don't have that many friends, motherfucker. I play D&D. You're like 9 and 13. You're definitely playing a couple each. And you're right, the DM plays a couple. And the ones the DM plays are usually his favorite class that he would want to play if he were playing in this game.
Exactly.
And so that's me. I always played the wizard, right? I had my wizard character was barely ever played as a character. He was always played as a DM's character. And so he's part of the adventuring group. And there's no way to talk about meta. You know, there's no way you're going to separate in your brain the adventure based on how your character would handle that adventure, right? And so yeah, you're always going to be playing that out in your head, and so your character is going to look good. You just can't make him look too good, better than the other characters, because he's technically an NPC, even though he's your character. Hink, wink, wink.
Wink, wink. That's why it's a DMPC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So come on, yeah. But that was certainly an issue. But you become attached to it. Have I created NPCs that you're like, oh, this big baddie he's got to be around for months, real time. You know, this character's gonna have to be around. He's gonna be the foil. Then like, wait a second, my players just killed him. How the fuck? Because now you had this whole plan on how they were going to be the foil, and your players did something using spells that you didn't expect them to use, and you roll with it. That's why you're the DM.
Mm-hmm.
You roll with it, you improvise, and you overcome.
Yep.
And if son of a good DM. But if you did it, well, no. What really happened is you thought you killed him, but you left his body on the field. And they dragged his body off, and then they cast Raise Dead on him. He had a simulacrum off screen.
Yeah. The clone, the wizard clone spell. Remember that thing in the old AD? Yeah. Come on, give me a break. Yeah. No, it's you can't possibly not have a conflict of interest when you're doing that, right? But at the same time, there are fun NPCs to play that sometimes become part of the character group. Like what I've been doing is I test out. I made up my own Cambion, my own tiefling class, right? And Cambions are of demons, and tieflings are of devils, and blah blah blah. There's all kinds of rules between them. It's on my website somewhere. You can read about them. But the bottom line is, I wanted to sort of play test it, and I didn't want the characters to play them because they weren't really PC classes, even though they leveled. They were still monsters, NPC classes. And so I kind of, since I made them whole cloth from scratch, basically, I wanted to figure out, did what I make, does it balance? Is it too overpowered? How do I scale it? And yada yada. So I know when and how to use it properly. And so I have this one character that she is a tiefling, and she jumps in with the group maybe 25% of the time. Every couple of months she comes in because there's something that is interrelated to their interests, right? And so it really allows me the chance to test out how this character progresses. So every few levels, I don't play her all the way through. I assume she levels at the same pace as the PCs, and so they haven't played with her since they were 15th level. Now they're 18th. I'm going to drop her in and see how the 18th level version of this class works. And so as a DM, you want to try that stuff out, but I also become a little bit attached to her because even though she's not there all the time, she's an NPC, but she's almost kind of like my PC, and she's a little special. It's a hard line to not like want to kill her, right? Or to not want to kill her. In other words, you got to hold off from the tendency of, I don't want to throw this in. I might kill my NPC, my special favorite. Oh, wait a minute. It's only a fucking NPC, asshole. It's not a real character. Don't worry about it.
Right, but you forget that. You get attached, man.
You do. Yeah, there's no way around it. There's no way around it, man.
It's if you didn't get attached to them, you wouldn't be invested as a GM, and that might be an issue for that. But you have to be able to let them go, just like your players. They have to let a PC go, right? So just as a DM, you probably got to rotate your favorites out a lot more because the players will kill them.
That's what Jim Butcher talks about, the writer who wrote all the Harry Dresden books. He's one of my favorite authors in my favorite series ever, man. I don't know if you have the audio tapes. I don't even read a lot, but if the audios of those.
I back in the day, I read the first book.
Oh,
then I watched the TV series.
Oh, that's where you lost it then. Yeah, don't ignore the TV series. It sucked balls.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It was horrible, but the books are so good. And once you get past the first two, as my friend says, it seems like you got a better editor. And all of a sudden, the quality of the book 3 through whatever they're up to now, 19 or whatever, it's incredible. He's grown as a writer, but he always talks about, what you have to do is constantly hurt your favorite characters in ways that makes the readers like, oh no, you know what I mean? That's what you got to do, and to make it interesting, to make it gripping. And if you're in that I think that's that trope of storytelling applies just as much to D&D. You got to hurt your characters. You got to take stuff from them. You got to make it matter. You got to make it mean something. My brother's wizard is whatever, like I said, an 18th level now. He's a noble in Waterdeep. He's got a lot of money. He's got an income stream. He's got money saved up, which was good because he started in his game as a disinherited noble, and he over time regained all that stuff. He started from zero, essentially, went up to a lot of stuff. And I'm like, what? how am I going to bring his ass back to zero again? I'm going to make him struggle a little bit. So I threw out something in there for the nobles that essentially there's now a hierarchy of ranking of noble houses within this. And I'm taking this from Dune, right? The major, the minor, all the different levels of houses, the great houses and all this stuff of the Landstrad. But basically you got to buy your way into it. The more you develop Waterdeep and things around it that have been devastated by war in my campaign, it's a way to drain the cash of the nobles and reinvigorate the economy of the country. And so they put it out there. We restructured the nobles, and you have to buy your way into it, into your title. And so you're playing off the egos of the nobles, and you're also playing off the fact that the higher the house, the more votes you get in the noble council. And so essentially it's power and its ego all tied into having to spend money, which is the cost is going to be more than he has currently. So he's out there like, fuck, I never had to worry about money for 10 levels. Now I got to go out there and think about money again. Not to the extent that you can't afford iron rations, but you got to worry about income. You got to worry about money. You got to get your ass out on the road. You can't sit back on your ass at 18th level and not adventure. You got to get out there and loot some shit, motherfucker. So you got to make them hungry. And that goes back to the whole thing that we were talking, even though the one before about first level matters. That thirst, that struggle, that hunger, that matters, man. That's the shit to remember. Yeah. That's fun. That's fun. This is, I think it really, I was thinking this thing got legs. I was yelling at it so much as I was reading it the first time. I'm like, this is good for the show. We're gonna, this will be fun.
Well, it's funny. They're like, oh, they want to know which ones which ones made you laugh the most? They didn't make me laugh. They made me think.
Yeah, they did.
They
did. There's no laughter involved except laughing at their stupidity on a few of them. Other than that, The Tokugawa shogunate required the nobles to make a once-a-year trip from the boondocks to the capital in order to drain money they might use to rebel. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why, the people who rebel, the poor people, are kept so poor they can't afford it. They can't take time off from work to rebel.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, man.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, I think we had a good show, man. Our thing didn't go off today. We're supposed to meet in New York today, but shit happened to my, family stuff, so I couldn't do it. And we're gonna do it another time, maybe around Christmas holidays. I took a week off around Christmas and New Year's. If you want to maybe do that.
Professor DM had to work. Joe Block. I think the weather. He reached out to me to apologize. He wasn't going to be able to make it. And he goes, he want to meet Pecan out in Scranton.
Yeah.
For one day this weekend. And I was like, listen, we're not going to. I go. I messaged you and MeWe, but I figured that Joe was now on Facebook too. And I was like, I let him know, and he's like, "Oh, okay." Well, by the way, I should be reminded. He gives his sympathies. So,
thank you. Yeah, thank you. So bottom line is, we'll reschedule that again, maybe in the holidays. It's always fun to do New York in the snow anyway. If we get some snow there,
Yeah,
that'd be a good time.
And we'll announce it on the cast. I'll make an announcement on Facebook and MeWe what we're doing, what the plan is. Now, talking about plans. Tomorrow I pick up my niece around noon. She will be here. Right. She will be here tomorrow. The live stream, the plan is, I'm guessing that'll be in this chair so it might be a wacky live stream because we're gonna have to reset things up after the ladies, my wife Rach and Shannon, take the spray out and dye my hair blue.
So it's a spray. It's not like under the sink dye, all that stuff.
No, that one we picked up. And it had like warnings, like you had to apply a special ointment to your hairline.
Oh Jesus!
And then you only applied it 1/8 of an inch from the scalp.
Yeah. I was like,
it was my luck. My hair's gonna fall out. Which might be amusing to some, but
I will laugh. But
so we're gonna do the blue hair. We'll do the cast tomorrow on the blue hair. Then I will reapply it next week to take the dog for a walk, and then. Either same day or later day, go food shopping. So you'll get your blue hair Tenkar.
Oh my God, nice! You're gonna wear the same outfit as you wore on the podcast, as on the broadcast.
It might. Well, the food shopping will definitely have to be the Taco Cat's pants, but I'll wear the shirt.
Okay.
The reason why I'm wearing the Taco Cat's pants has pockets. The other ones do not. The Eric as a rocker / pro wrestler. There are no pockets, so I will need pockets to make purchases. So so taco pants are embarrassing enough, I think, as they are. So
I think it'll be good. Are you gonna live stream it, or are you gonna record it and patch it together?
Okay. No, and when we do the park, Rachel take some pictures, and she might live stream part of it. It'll be
All right.
during the day.
That'd be funny.
So, but we'll, at the very least, we'll record it and we'll put it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if it isn't live stream, because probably with live streaming, that's going to be I won't be able to respond. Rachel won't be able to respond, but we will definitely get some video recording of it, of me looking like a classic fool. So no one in New York would notice blue hair, but they might notice the WrestleMania hair metal band
costume.
Here's the thing, Matt. I don't live in Manhattan. I live in the outer borough of Queens, and we don't have the whack jobs that you think of out here.
Yeah, yeah, it's very different. His Queens, where I visited when I hit the local bar out there, it's a very working class community.
Oh, yeah.
It's it's still the city, but it's not suburban, and it's a working class place. Real people live. So yeah, it's a different show out there.
Now here is the kicker: if I can sleep in this hair, and we'll figure out if I can. If I can sleep in it, I'll leave it for Sunday, and as a bonus, when Rachel and I go down for Sunday Night Football at the local pub, I will wear the blue hair. But I don't know if I'll be able to without staying in the bed. So
yeah,
I'm not going to shit the bed. I'm not going to stay in the bed. So if I can't, but
once you get a plastic haircut, man, that's all.
Dude, come on, that's going to kill me. It'll melt blue. I'll be a Smurf. Okay?
A blue scalp forever. It'll be just
dyed
blue.
Maybe like somebody scrub me in the tub, please, because my dick is coming out. But so that'll be tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Shannon's coming over. We're gonna spend the day probably walking the dog, going to the park without the blue hair, without the embarrassing outfits, and then we'll do the blue hair. So that should be fun. And just like today had a bonus cast, there may be a bonus cast coming up early Saturday, because I want to make sure that I cover what's going on with the Gary Gygax estate / will. There's an update that came out the 11th, and today is the 12th. So I covered it on the blog site at tenkarstavern.com, but I'd like to cover it for the YouTube channel. And if you hate fucking YouTube, but you still watch here, apparently Anchor is now allowing the uploading of video, and I stopped with the Anchor stuff because I would upload the video to convert to audio, and literally half the time it would crash in the process. It didn't crash. It would take an hour. I just couldn't do it. But if they have fixed it, I will start uploading the videos. And once I do the videos, it'll automatically allow it to be downloaded also as audio. So that'll be an alternative way for people. So tomorrow or Sunday, I got my niece tomorrow. So it might not be as much tomorrow as it is Sunday. I'll be experimenting with it, and we will see. Other than that, my arm is in pain because I got my COVID booster shot.
Oh, you got it. Good for you, man. I got mine a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I got shot number 3.
Yep.
I just flew in from New York, and holy shit, my arm is painful.
Rachel got it too, or just you?
She got hers last week up at Walmart.
Okay. Oh, yeah? Oh, shit, really? I had the Rite Aid pharmacy out here. It was easy. I went right to basically I waited a week to get it because it was the day my uncle came over. I was eligible then, but I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to, a big deal. I didn't want to be sick and not be able to go.
Right.
So I just waited another week afterwards, and I got it done instantly, no problem, except the pain the next day.
Yeah, I went down to the local pharmacy, and I thought that I was going to have to get an appointment. And they're like, oh, no, just fill out this fucking endless paperwork.
Yeah. I had to do that online.
All right, all the endless paperwork is filled out. Sit, shot. Apparently now you can also get the flu shot at the same time in the opposite arm, but I can't imagine like having to sleep on I'm a side sleeper, and it's just bad enough. If I couldn't sleep on either arm, I'd be suicidal. So,
that's a mess. No, I was happy to get it. I tell you, after you get it, you feel a little bit ballsier. And plus, where in Connecticut, it's really, really good in terms of the numbers. So between that and I went out to the restaurant and bar a couple times. Other than that, I'm keeping the fuck away from everything. I'm not going out.
No, I understand that. So folks, listen. I always talk about it, right? At the end of every episode, I talk about the world of COVID. Right? We're in the world of COVID. I happen to be vaccinated. Joe happens to be vaccinated. We're not telling you what to do. All right, your health situation is different than mine. It's different than Joe's. I have comorbidities up the ass. All right, I'm 54. So for me, getting vaccinated was common sense. When you're my son, who's 28, relatively healthy, you're younger, you know what? maybe you don't need to make that decision. Maybe your decision's a different one than the decision that I made. But talk to your healthcare professionals. Ignore the talking heads, whether that's me or somebody on fucking CNN or Fox or whatever. Ignore the fucking talking heads. All right, healthcare professionals that know your medical background, listen to their advice. All right, make choices that keep yourself, your family, your friends healthy and safe. Other than that, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Don't roll like fucking Tim Shorts.
Unless you're DMing against me, then roll like Tim
Well,
Shorts.
yeah. Well, Tim only rolls like shit when he's a player.
I know.
When he's a DM, he's like a fucking killer DM. So, I'll be back. Like I said, likely with a bonus episode early tomorrow, and 8 p.m. for Blue Hair. Oh my god!
Nice. All right, guys, take it easy. Be safe.
Yep. I'm trying to find the button to